I'm going to record this and I'm probably not going to post it up. I didn't want to go to work today, but I went anyway, and I had a good day. I met some good people. By the end of the day, I felt good, which is surprising. But it's funny what gets put on your path. And I don't know if it's God putting it in my path or me setting it before myself. I'm riding on the bus back home, and here comes someone on the bus. I'm in the back. This man sits not just in front of me, but a little ways in front of me, a few seats down. And he sits on the opposite side to a younger man, thin man, and he starts calling him some negative gay name calling. I don't know if he calls him a faggot or something like that, but it's not good. And the other guy is just looking straight ahead. What do you do in that situation? I felt bad for the young man, but I thought, I'm not going to help the situation by saying something. But maybe I would have. But basically, that guy is bad news. So I'm going to call him Person A. This guy that called the other guy these names. His friend hops on the bus, and they, break hands. I forget what that's called. They shake hands and bump, and the other Person B, his friend, has a bottle in his hand. And maybe I should say that everyone on the vehicle is black. There's me, Person A, Person B, young man who had names called towards him. Everyone's black. The bus driver, the other occupants, of which there's probably like a dozen or so. Person B has some vodka in his hands and looks drunk. Person A looks drunk too. I don't have a big problem with that, but they start smoking a cigarette, and I have a problem with that. And I start running through all the things that I could do. I don't want to smell this smoke. I could go up to them and try and reason with them and say, hey, could you put out the cigarette? You're better than that. But honestly, my own personal internal life is not very, my own moral fabric is not very strong right now. I don't have, even though I had a pretty good day, I dip down quite a lot. And I come up every now and again. But I'm struggling with the idea that, maybe God is not a loving God. And maybe we're not here. I don't know. I got a lot of mental fog right now. Anyway, the right thing would be to say, you're better than that. Why would you not? Why don't you put out your cigarette? But I don't believe that. And I thought, well, I could just stare at them. So I did stare at them. And one guy, Person A, left the vehicle. And I thought if he noticed me staring and there was two of them, I have more of a problem. But with just one of them, staring at just one of them, not as much of a problem. There's less of a chance that they would gang up on me. So I stared at the second guy, and he noticed that, and he starts telling me that he doesn't like people staring at him. And I say really loud, I didn't know what he said, but I knew he was pointing at me, and he was talking to two other people, pointing at me. I didn't know what he said, so I said, "What? What? What did you say to me?" He didn't really say it to me, but so already I'm starting something. And then he tells me, I don't like people staring at me. And at this point, I don't want to deal with him any further. So I go to the front of the bus, away from him. He says things like, "I don't like you. I don't like white people like you. I don't like white people. I don't like white people." And I tell him the reason that I had a problem with him was because he was smoking, and I didn't want to breathe that. And then he said, "I never smoke. I don't smoke." But he clearly was smoking, so he was lying. But he's trying to cover himself. So I'm dealing with someone that is not, he looks like he might be a member of a gang based on his general effect. And if he's a part of a gang, he doesn't have a lot of love in his personal life, so he's looking for something outside. So it's kind of rotten for me to pick on someone like this. He tells me he's getting off in this street and I can join him. He taunts me. He does all these things. Now, I'm saying all the things that he's doing that's bad. But as a mature person, I started something. I looked at him, and you might say, this is something I've been wanting to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I want to make a whole video about this. There's something called the evil eye, and I've talked about this before. The evil eye. Some people call it the stink eye. Maybe it's called even the devil eye. That's coming up in my mind. A stare of 1,000 daggers. Stink eye, evil eye. There's another one. Anyway, this is what people do. This is what I do. I gotta fess up to having done this. This is what I do. When you have no other, when you're too, I should put it this way: when you're too much of a coward to do anything else, you're too much of a coward to walk up to them and tell them what problem you might have with them in a reasonable way. You're too much of a coward to punch them in the face, because then you'll be put away. You're too much of a coward to call them names and bully them verbally, because people will get on your case for doing that. So what you resort to is giving them the evil eye. You stare them down. And you hope that they can feel that. And they can. They can feel that. Ever since I've opened up to this idea of feelings being, tossed around, I've seen many instances. I know I'm not describing it well. This idea of having a sense for a feeling. So it's, instead of telepathy, where it's communication verbally from mind to mind, it's kind of like a spidey sense, where but instead of like danger necessarily, but it can be danger. You can feel the love from someone if they're giving you a hug, Or you can get a fake hug and you can feel no love, and you can feel that, you know. Um, I've seen so many occasions where this has been proven right, that people can feel. I think what's happening is that we're feeling things all the time wherever we go. You know, something I was thinking of today is that in one situation, someone might be very courageous and might stand up for themselves or someone else. And in another situation with a different person, you know, bigger, smaller, taller, you know, smaller, fatter, thinner, uh, you know, with so called prestige or without, they would have no courage in that situation. It's really interesting. That means there's other things going on. Maybe that's a bit of a tangent. Anyway, um, I started something today. This happened not 30 minutes ago. And as I walked from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, he said, "You know what? I'm going to stick a gun in your face and I'm going to rob you." And I said, "That's really funny because he's like playing into a stereotype. He wants to scare me, and what he's doing is he's playing into, you know, a racial stereotype. I don't think that he would actually do that. I don't know what he was actually capable of, but he, you know, I am a little afraid that he could have a gun somewhere. He put his hand in his pocket, which is a move I've seen before, as if there might be a gun there. So I guess that's kind of like a common move. Um, and the first time it happened to me, you know, that worked some magic on me. Yeah, it did. You know, do they have a gun? Uh oh, I don't know. But he's saying all these things, and maybe this is a pity party. Maybe I want to say how terrible young black teenagers are. You can think whatever you want. You can take this however you want. But to me, there were several things that I could have done. I could have said something. I could have gone up to the driver and tattled on them, or asked someone what to do. I could have just took it. I was trying to take it. I was trying to sit there and not worry about the smoke billowing everywhere. But I couldn't do that. Maybe I've reached a point of no return where things like that irk me enough. But the thing is that this is really what I want to talk about is like righteous indignation. Is it effective? And Jesus talks about this. I don't want to talk about Jesus because I have my issues with Jesus. Jesus has not been doing workshops for a while. And initially I was like, that's great. He's going to work on himself. And and I thought, you know, I'm really rah rah sis boo ba. You know, I'm really rooting for him here. But I kind of felt that at some point I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be looking for the next video. I want to see another Divine Truth video. And I dismissed that away. I said, you know, I'm not gonna be that guy just waiting for another video, just, you know, telepathically communicating all this pressure towards that man. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not that low. And now that's who I am. That's exactly who I am. So I feel bad about that. I'm waiting for the next video. I've unsubscribed from the Divine Truth channel because I feel like, you know, I don't know. I want to go. I want to fly free. I want to be on my own. I want to. Maybe he's Jesus. Maybe he's not Jesus. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's not. Maybe everything he's saying is true. Maybe not. I want to take what I've heard and try and apply it in my life. But what I find myself doing is every day, pretty much, I just check the Divine Truth channel on YouTube. Did he put another video? I go to the Divine Truth website and I just, every week or so I'll check, did Mary put another post on her blog? It's like a TV series to me now. I wanted to talk about that too, is that, like, I don't know how much of this information is really reaching me. Although the subject of this video would be that, one thing that he has said. But like for me, a lot of it is I want to know what they're doing. I want updates. I want to know how they're doing. And like they might as well get like a Facebook page. But I don't like Facebook, so I wouldn't have that. Anyway, I'm going way too far off the point. But he's talked about righteous indignation. He's talked about how that's really just anger, and anger is not a good thing. And by the way, very few people think anger is not a good thing. When he said that, I was like, wow. So many things clicked for me. But I will bring this up to a lot of people. I will ask them, what do you think about anger? Do you think anger is a good thing? Do you think it's maybe always unproductive? And people usually say, well, it's not great. But yeah, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good. And I'm like, wow, I can't find a single person out here in this world who thinks that anger is wrong. And for me, it makes so much sense. Maybe I'm betraying my actual feelings because I still get angry a lot. I'm rageful a lot, and what I'm bringing up here in this video is the fact that I had rage. I felt bad because I couldn't go up to those. I felt like I knew what they were going to say, before I could say anything. If I said, can you put that cigarette out? I don't want to breathe that. I don't know. They would start calling me fat. It's happened before. Don't think it. People are not that petty. People try to look for the worst, and just, the word that comes up is screw. They want to screw you up, screw you in. And I didn't want to stand there like an idiot and get a bunch of heat from these two people. So I just kept my mouth shut. And then I found I couldn't do that. And I just was angry. And so what I did was I gave that one guy the evil eye. And I waited until they were both out. Or at least person A was out the door. So he left, and person B was there. And with that, I could let him know. He finally looked around, and he found me, and he gave me a head nod. It's so funny, because this is happening so many times, and most people won't believe me, but I can tell what's going to happen. It's not like... Okay, so what happened was, person A walked out the bus. And person B remained. He was sitting down, hanging out, and at some point he looked behind him. And he saw me staring at him. And he gave me a head nod. Oh, okay. I see that you're staring at me. And then he turned back to the front to look ahead. And I knew that it wasn't over. I knew it wasn't over. And I started looking out, like, how soon is this bus ride over? Can I get home before anything major happens? And it's like, it's crazy how events, go down, because I can almost feel like I can see things happening. There are certain inevitabilities, if I can put it that way, to the way that events occur. I've seen issues that I've not dealt with recur and recur. If it's just what Jesus talks about, I'm sorry. A lot of people that who may be interested in watch my videos and think that all this Jesus talk is crazy, but stuff that he talks about makes sense. And if you he calls it the law of attraction. And if you don't want to call it that, you can find people out there who call it by a different name. But it's basically, if you don't deal with something, it's going to come back up. It's like a fact of life. So, what happened was, I walked to the front of the bus, and I felt the adrenaline, or whatever you call it. I don't know if it was fear or adrenaline or what. It started going through me like venom, through my bloodstream or wherever. I felt it moving through my body, and it was exhilarating, and I was like shaking, but I didn't want to show it. And I knew that I could take that young man, but of course that would be the wrong way to go. I could probably take him, but I can't take both of them. So he was putting on a show because I offended him, because I condescended to him, is basically what I did. So he put on this big show that he could take me, that he could use a weapon against me. He even taunted me, saying, why don't we go fight outside? I'm getting off on this street. You can get off with me. I mean, I've had violent fantasies, very violent fantasies, where I've thought of hurting people. And a lot of times, what ends up is that I really hurt these people. I know that I can do it. I know how I can rush towards them and bash them. And I don't want to do that. At the end of the day, you have someone that's bloodied and hurt, maybe disabled. Maybe they have to go to the doctor. Maybe their life is ruined. At least, one part, they've lost a certain ability, and their life is completely changed because of one violent act that I did. And I think of that after I carry out the violent fantasy in my mind, and I know that it's not worth it. I'm not trying to be righteous here. I'm just I'm just reporting the facts. I'm reporting what goes through my mind. So no, I'm not going to go out and taunt. I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to accept, the offer to have a fight with this guy, because he was a lot smaller than me. And honestly, there are people that are bigger than me that I know that I can take. And that, to me, it's not boasting. I'm just telling the truth. So what I did was I went to the front of the bus, and now there's a scene. Everyone turns their heads to see this white guy say, "What?" When I initially did that earlier. And now there's a scene. I'm sure a lot of people think, man, this white guy must be crazy. I'm sure. What is he doing in this neighborhood? What the hell is he doing here? Like some of them might say, yeah, I saw him smoking. I didn't like that. But that doesn't give, but you're crazy for living in this neighborhood. You're crazy for being here. And maybe I am. If anything ever happens to me, by the way, I did it to myself. And if you don't know that, I'm just telling you right now. And I don't really foresee anything happening, but it's possible. I have a lot of anger and rage, and I think, again, holding on to something and not dealing with it. Maybe that's why I'm here at the end of the day. Maybe I don't want to make a movie at all. Maybe I want a reason to be in a violent neighborhood so that I can meet a violent fate, so that I can prove something to myself. Maybe that's the whole reason why I'm here on the south side of Chicago. I wonder about that. So I don't know if this was helpful. 25 minutes. I just wanted to share, and I hope that you understand that I am not a moral figure. I have a lot of flaws, and I'm just questioning. I'm wondering, and I'm asking. I'm asking God, but I don't feel like I'm getting many answers from God. So, but maybe I just can't feel it. I don't know. That's another thing. But maybe I'm too angry to even hear what God wants to tell me. I hope that I can have some kind of positive effect on the world. Sometimes I believe that I am, but sometimes I really believe that I'm. I think that I am, and I'm totally wrong, and that's really scary. And I'd say most of the time I believe that I'm I'm totally wrong. I'm really fucking things up here. So that's my pity party, and that's it. So I gotta cut this off before I go on for another 20 minutes.